Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a very special episode. We are going to review a chess game that I played in an over-the-board tournament this weekend, and we also are going to talk about something crazy that happened in that tournament, and it even got a grandmaster scratching his head. So you'll want to stick around and hear the gossip on that. But before I tell you that, I want to talk a little bit more about the tournament. I played in my first over-the-board tournament, and I'll pull up my screen really quickly and we will look at the tournament. I was in the amateur section because I was unrated. Here's me, Jacob Wayne Jones, unrated. I won 2 games and I lost 2 games and ended up getting 4th place, or tied for 4th place in the tournament. The games that I lost were against, one of them was against Samuel Liao. He was rated 976. My other game was a guy named Isaac Riggs. It was my first game ever, and he was rated 728, and he ended up getting second in the tournament. I believe he is going to be rated much higher than that because he did very well in this tournament. But as you can see, the highest rated person is Wesley McClooney. He ended up winning the tournament. He actually is going to be rated close to 1200 after winning this tournament, and he did really well as well in the tournament. Going into it, the ones I was most worried about were the unrated players, like David McLean, for example, did really well in the tournament. Charles did pretty good. Some of the other ones down here, one of them is my son. Unfortunately, he didn't win any games, and I was sad about that. One of the games was against me. I actually had to deliver one of the losses to my son. He totally would have been, I've taught him, like, to be competitive and to want to win and to want to do better. And so he definitely understood, like, I couldn't just like let him win because he wants his first tournament win to be legit. So in his first tournament, he didn't win anything, but I believe once the tournament is posted to US Chess, he will actually be rated 350, and it says I got an email saying that I will be rated around, I think it was around 740. So I'll be 1600 online and then 740 over the board. I will say that I'm going to be more prepared for the next tournament now that I've finally got one out of the way. I never played tournaments as a kid. I didn't get into chess until I was like 35. So this was completely new to me. I will say over the board chess it's like, first of all, it's like starting over. I feel like I'm learning chess again for fresh. Secondly, is way more intense. If you're playing online only and you want a challenge, go start playing over the board, because you're going to get it handed to you by some 700s and some 900s who are experienced in tournament play. Tournament play in real life, you're sitting across the board from someone. You don't get to rage quit. You don't get to like lose the game and then just go have a cup of coffee. Like, you're sitting there across from someone when you make a blunder and when you see them take advantage of it, right? So it's intense. Also is very loud. When I play here, it's completely quiet in my office, as you can tell, and if it ever does get loud somewhere in my room or in my house or outside, maybe there's something going on, I put on noise cancellation headphones and I'm good to go. I'm very affected by sound. I don't know, I wouldn't call it a disability, but it definitely is I've noticed in my life that sound affects me more. Like a clicking pen drives me crazy. I can't even think. And so there was a Scholastic tournament happening at the same time. As you can see, it's Vulcan and Scholastic. The Vulcan Classic was what I was playing in. There was 3 sections: Amateur, Reserve, and Premier. Again, something juicy happened during the Premier tournament that I'll tell you about. But there's also 3 sections of the Scholastic. And the Scholastic tournament was happening right behind me, because the way it was set up is Premier tables, then there was the under 1600 tables, which is the Reserve, and then there's the Amateur tables, which is under 1200. And then right behind that was all the Scholastic tables. So I was right next to all of the chaos of elementary kids dropping pieces, crinkling bags of chips, all kinds of stuff. So that I think affected me a lot in my first game, a lot more than it did my opponent, because he had experience in tournaments and he may not have also had the issue with sound that I do. So I'm going to have to really work on that. Maybe this is going to help me do that. The other thing that affected me a lot is I'm 40 years old and I had to get up early. I left my house at 5:45 to drive an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to this tournament. It lasted until 10:30 at night. My last game. So I lost my first game. I lost my last game. And my last game, by the time that we finished that tournament, I mean, I was mentally exhausted. So there was a lot going on. This is way more intense than playing online. And I'm planning to do another tournament next month in Huntsville. It's going to be a lot closer drive. I already know what to expect. I'm going to come prepared. I believe that I'm going to do much better in my next tournament. My best game in this tournament was against Robert Lyman, and we are going to review that game now. So let me pull up the chessboard. I put all of my moves from my book into chess.com, and I saved it in a collection. I'm going to save all of my over-the-board games into a collection so that I can review them. It's important to review your games. Now, after we review this game, I'm going to tell you about something that happened in the tournament that even got the grandmaster scratching his head. So hang tight. This won't take long. There's only, I think, 21 moves. Yeah, 21 moves before Robert Lyman resigned. So hats off to him. He played a good game, I believe. He was doing the best that he could against my attack, but my attack just was too strong. So I started out deciding that I'm going to play the Ponziani no matter what. He played the Sicilian, so when you play the Ponziani against the Sicilian, it's actually called the Alpin Sicilian. So c5 we know is the Sicilian, and the idea is to control this d5 square, hoping that it keeps me from playing d5. It really doesn't, because I pull my knight out, so I can actually take and play my knight, but then he forces me to move a piece twice in the opening. I also could pull out a bishop here and just ignore it, but I decided to play the Ponziani, which again is the Alpin Sicilian, whenever they play c5. So he pushes e6, which is an okay move. He wants to get his black bishop out, or his dark squared bishop out. I push d5, and you can see I have still just a slight advantage here. When he takes and I take back, I'm only up half a pawn. So white always has an advantage, and this is the reason why the Alpin Sicilian, I think, is a very good opening against the Sicilian, because black's whole idea of controlling the center with his c-pawn is essentially negated by me doing the same thing. And because white gets to move first, white already has that time advantage that allows me to end up doing what black wanted to do, and I have full control of the center. So if you're having trouble against the Sicilian, try the Alpin Sicilian. It's the same opening moves as the Ponziani, and it works very well in my opinion. Okay, so I've got complete control of the center. I just need to develop a bishop and castle, and I should have a pretty good game. But he immediately strikes at the center, which is a good move. He probably even could have done it earlier. I took back, which probably wasn't the best move, but that's what I've always done. When he takes back with the queen, whatever disadvantage I had by taking the pawn is now negated by the fact that I get to attack the queen on my next developing move. I'm not worried about this pawn, because even though he has two attackers, I have two defenders, and ties go to the defender in chess, just like in the board game called Risk. If you ever played Risk, you know that as an attacker, you've always got to have one more than the defender. It's the same in chess. So he slides over to a5 with his queen, which is something you see in the Scandinavian main line. I don't know if that is the right move in the Sicilian, But that is the move that he made. And as you can see, my advantage is just slowly creeping up. 0.7 now. I went ahead and played bishop b5 to pin the knight. Again, I'm not worried about the queen just taking this because it's defended by the knight. And even though the queen has the knight pinned, if the queen takes my bishop, it will remove that pin, so we're not worried about that. Now it's 1-1, and tie goes to the defender. So I pulled that out, putting pressure on here, and I thought that pressure would... his best move here would be to push my pawn, but if he just defended it, I was thinking about just castling. And you say, why does he need to defend? He's already got a defender. Well, because if I take this knight here, first of all, the knight can't move, it's pinned. If I take the knight, he takes back with this pawn, then he would have a pawn here, no pawn on this file, on the B file, a pawn here, no pawn on the D. So you just created 2 pawn islands if he has to take back with this pawn. So I thought the move bishop d7 was coming, and I was going to castle. So this bishop move essentially makes him play another bishop move. Now if he played a6, I was planning to drop back here, and then if he played b5, I was going to go here. And I felt like after that move, I would have his pawns all overextended over here, and then I would have a chance to castle. Instead of playing either one of those moves that I expected, he ends up actually playing knight e7, and the eval bar goes up for me, which I think is very good. It says that this is a mistake. It's actually saying bishop d6 is the best move. Now, if I turn the depth up higher and on the analysis bar, and I actually allow for multiple lines here, I think eventually it does say that a6 is the best move, but bishop d7 is certainly probably a very good move. So he plays this. Now here, the move for me should be to castle. That was my whole plan. But when I saw that he didn't remove the pin by playing bishop d7, I was like, I really feel like I should put pressure on the pinned piece. And if I move my knight here, my idea was I'm going to make room for my queen to come add even more pressure. So instead of castling here, I played knight e5. Now you see the eval bar drop. Here's something you've got to understand when you're reviewing your games, and you should be reviewing your games. The eval bar drops because it's being ran by a computer. But I'm not playing against a computer. I'm playing against a human. And when a human sees that he now has 2 pieces attacking a pinned piece, yes, he has it defended. But now we've created that problem again where I'm going to be able to make an island. Takes, pawn takes back. Now we've got this pawn island. So it is a bit of a threat that a human is going to be more worried about than a computer is. Now, white is probably totally fine if they just push here and make me take first with the bishop, right? I don't know. But he doesn't do that. He actually plays g6, and when he does that, now we do want to pay attention to the eval bar, because this was a huge mistake. I'm sure his idea was to get this bishop out here and attack my knight from this side, but this was a mistake. First of all, I could just do what I wanted to do, which takes with the pawn. Actually, yeah, if I take and he takes with the pawn, I got to move my bishop. So maybe that's why it didn't care so much about the pin piece on the last move. I was thinking it would be takes. Oh, that's right. I would take first with the knight because it attacks the queen. He's got to take back if he takes with the bishop, right? Anyways, g6 is not a great move. And the reason why is because it didn't stop this threat. But this is more than of a threat than the lines that I have drawn, as you're going to see here in just a second. Because when the queen comes here, not only am I now technically threatening to win this rook over here, because after, let's say he makes this move that he was probably planning on making, I take even if he takes with the pawn first, I take, takes, takes, and now he's got to block probably with the bishop or move his king. Either one of those is going to be bad. Let's say he blocks, I take, he moves up here, and then I get to bring my queen back to safety. And now I'm just really winning, right? So he's got to react to the fact that my queen came here because I'm going to get his rook. So his reaction was to play now the move that I think he should have played on the last move, which is to remove the pin. Now the bishop or the knight is no longer pinned, and it's also now sufficiently defended. 3-3 tie goes to the defender. But what he did not realize is that while he fixed this problem, he didn't fix this problem. So now this pawn has two attackers, one defender, and that defender is the king. So on the next move, instead of untangling all of that stuff, I took the pawn with check. And there's really no way for him to keep me from taking this rook over here, although I never took it because I wanted to go for the king instead. So here, I decided to get some pieces out of the way, which wasn't necessarily the best move according to the eval bar, but I knew I was going to win this pawn. And I thought this is going to be good enough. When he pushes this pawn, you see the eval bar go back up. Right here, I probably should have immediately come back here, and it was guaranteed that I was going to win this rook because my bishop has this, right? But instead, I castled because I wanted to get another piece into the game. And as you can see, the eval bar doesn't mind me castling too much. When he takes that pawn, I make my first mistake of the game. Again, I probably should have just went here, ignored the knight, and taken the rook. But instead, I moved my knight to here. This knight move here was a huge mistake. I did not realize that this bishop could move. Again, I was getting tired at this point in the afternoon. But my idea was if I can get my knight here, I can probably checkmate this king. And for some reason, I remembered there was a pin on C6 earlier, and I think in my brain I was thinking this piece is still pinned, but there was no pin. The bishop is not pinned. He could just take back right here, and after he takes back, I'm still winning. But it's not good. And the reason why I'm still winning is because I can still get this rook. There's nothing stopping that. So here, this was a bad move, but the move that he makes brings me back to, like, this doesn't matter now because he didn't take it. So even though it was an inaccuracy or a mistake for me to make that move, it never came to fruition because I was able to throw in this check, make him move back. Then I had a check with that knight. Now the knight is totally winning for me. When he came here, I considered checking here, but I also considered checking this way. I got a discovered attack right here. I really wish I could put my knight here and I would win the queen. I thought about how can I get that to happen. Again, I could just take this rook over here in the corner and it's probably game over at that point. I'd also considered bringing a rook into the game because this knight is pinned now to the king. And if I can take this knight with the rook and the bishop takes back and then I take back, I mean, it's game over no matter which way you look at it. So I brought a rook in this way. That's what I ultimately decided to do. And then I thought maybe I'll be able to somehow attack this bishop and get it to move, and it'll be pinned as well. So I was just bringing more pieces into the attack. At this point, I have a 9.1 advantage. There is no losing this game. He moves his king over to get out of the pin. But when he got out of the pin, I noticed this square I wanted to put my knight on for the discovered check is still a good square because right here it would be forking the king and queen. So how can I get my knight there? I decided to pull back my bishop, make room for that so that I could bring my knight in. He saw that right away and he moved his queen out of the way. So here I probably could have still played this check, would have been a good move. As a matter of fact, I'm just now noticing that if I play this check, the bishop is going to keep him from going that way. So that's probably still a very good move, because I don't know how he survives this. There's a mate in 8. So there was a forced mate if I would have played that check. Okay. Yeah, I don't... And there's no other place for him to go. Instead, I decided to pull this rook over. I wanted to get another piece into the game. Considered taking this on the next move. I decided not to because that would connect his rooks, and I didn't want to do that. But I didn't have to think much further because my opponent played queen d3. Now, his idea, I'm sure, was after I throw in this check and he moves somewhere, he's going to line up his queen somehow. Maybe he'll find a way to attack my g2 pawn with this bishop. I sat here and thought for a very long time on this move because I thought maybe if I bring my rook up here and check him, I can find a checkmate. Maybe I should throw in this check now. Maybe I should just immediately attack the queen. Maybe I should take this knight when he takes back with the bishop. I can take with the queen, and then I'm threatening to come across here with this bishop after I check. I had all of these things swirling around in my head, and then I did something that I told myself I would stop and do in the most critical point of any game, which I need to do this more often. I said, I'm going to run through this checklist that I have that I learned from another chess player online. And the checklist is look at your kings, look at your queens, look at the long range pieces, look at the undefeated pieces, and then look at weak squares, and then calculate a move. I spent a bunch of time making all kinds of calculations, and I said, let me stop. Look at my king. My king is very safe. Look at his king. Not safe at all. Not safe at all. Look at my queen. My queen's very safe. In fact, she has a rook whenever she wants to take it. My queen is doing very good. I don't see any real way he could attack me except for here. And even if he does, I just get to take it. And when he takes back, I can take back. So that's not dangerous at all. Look at his queen. His queen is trying to find something to attack, but there's really nothing for her. Wait a second. I'm just noticing this knight is covering a bunch of the squares this queen would want to move to. This bishop and rook and pawn is covering this. Actually, all of these squares are taken by pawns. Wait a minute. The queen, can she go? No. Can she come here? There's nowhere the queen can go right now. What would happen if I just attacked the queen? And that's what I did. And for 10 minutes, my opponent thought about a way to save the queen and resigned on move 21. And that was how I got, what was my second win in an over-the-board tournament. My first win was against my son in the previous game. So I could have played better in this game, but I was very excited with the results of this game. I had the advantage and never really lost it, in my opinion. So I ended up beating Robert Lyman. He did end up getting one win in the tournament. I'm not exactly sure who he beat. I think there's a way for me to see it on here. But now I want to tell you the crazy thing that happened in the Premier section. As you can see, we have a grandmaster, Alexander Fishbein. If we open up his US chess thing here, we can see he has the grandmaster title. He's FIDE rated as well. I believe it's his son Mitch is also in the tournament. Let me actually change the view here. And actually you can't see the whole thing. So let me pull this over here and pull this over here. Fix that real quick. Yeah, so you can see he doesn't have it doesn't say that he has a FIDE rating, but I'm pretty sure he's actually a national, he's a national master, USCF national master. And they're both from Tennessee. They both rode in together, so I know they're related, and I'm assuming that Mitch is his son. We also had Scott, who is, I believe, a national master as well. Yeah, he is a national master. And I want to say that Scott is the Alabama state champion. State champion. I don't know exactly how to look that up. Perhaps it's listed here. He was the Bliss Chess champion, Alabama dual champ. He's 2013 state champion. He's won the state championship in Alabama many times. He is a national master. Something crazy happened in game 1 of this tournament. Let me look at the pairings. Yeah, here we go. Round 1. Mariano Prado from Texas, rated 1804, beat Scott Varagona, a national master. He's rated 1800, and he beat him. And at the end of this game, everybody was crowded around like, what's going to happen here? And at this point in round 1, Mitch and Alexander Fishbin, they requested a bye for round 1, and it was accepted, and they actually weren't there yet. But they showed up near the end of this game. And so there was a little bit of gossip going on, and I actually overheard Mitch talking, I think, to Stuart Rachel. I think that's who it was that he was talking to, who is rated 2497. Let's see. I can't click on it there. Standing summary. Stuart. He ended up not. Oh, yeah, here we go. He is an international master. So he was an IM. And he actually, I saw them talking to each other. Let me make sure that's who it was. See if he's got his picture over here. Doesn't have his picture on the FIDE page. Okay, so I believe it was Stuart Rachels that he was talking to. And I overheard them talking about it, and I heard Alexander Fishbein, the grandmaster, asking Stuart like what was going on with this actual game here between Mariano Prado from Texas and Scott Varagona from Alabama, national master versus an 1804. What's going on? And I heard Stuart say, well, you know, these kids these days. Now, Mariano didn't look like a kid to me. He looked like he was a man, like in his 30s. But the grandmaster was like much older. So I guess they can call him a kid. They said these kids these days never show up to over-the-board tournaments. And they play 24/7 online. You don't know. He might be rated 2600 online. We have no idea what he's rated on chess.com. And so he comes in here as an 1800 over the board player, and he handed a loss to a national master. And it was intense. Everybody was crowded around the board. Then in round 3, also in round 2, he beat Charles Mettinger, who's rated 2000. And then in round 3, he is against the grandmaster. Now, the grandmaster won the game. Alexander Fishbein beat Mariano Prado. But I was watching this game, and it was a close game. It got down to time pressure with less than a minute on the clock. I think the material was still even, if I remember correctly. And he essentially ran out of time. I feel like if you would have given him another hour of time on the clock, he might have pulled off a draw. But the grandmaster had plenty of time still on his clock, and it ended up being, that he won the game. The grandmaster won the game, but it was close. So Mariano Prado had a very good showing at this tournament. Let's see what happened in the last game. He played against Zachary Isaac Snow, and they pulled off a draw. Zachary Isaac Snow is at 21-12. So Mariano Prado, who's rated 1800, is probably going to be rated much higher very soon. Let's go click on his profile very quickly. Yeah, he's 1800 now, but I have a feeling this 1800 is going to be closer to 1900 when the results of this previous tournament hit USCF website. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of a long one. I know some of it was somewhat boring, reviewing a game at an amateur over the board tournament, but there was some crazy stuff that happened. So I want to encourage you that if you're only playing online, go out there and try to play an over the board tournament. Go see if you're as good in person as you are online. It was a very humbling experience for me, and I'm looking forward to my next tournament next month in Huntsville at the Huntsville Classic. All right, thank you for watching today. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode.